Hey guys, what's up? Producer engineer Alex Scott here with Consordini.com, coming at you with another super cool studio gear review. Today we are going to take a look at the JDK Audio R22 stereo compressor. Now, this compressor is very interesting. It is a clone or kind of a remake of an older piece of gear, but not as common a one as, say, an SSL compressor, an 1176 or something like that. To understand exactly what it is, you got to understand a little bit about what JDK is as a company. So JDK Audio is actually a subsidiary of API. Now, if you guys know recording gear, especially high-end recording gear, you'll know that API is one of the most legendary manufacturers of recording consoles and studio gear in the world. They've been around since, I believe, the early 70s, and their consoles are particularly well known for rock, especially like hard rock and metal. They're very aggressive-sounding consoles, and API overall likes to have a real aggressive, lively, in-your-face sound with their gear. Their preamps and compressors and EQs and stuff are known for being a little bit more mid-forward, a little bit more kind of aggressive sounding, real punchy. They're amazing circuits, and they have their legendary status for a very good reason. But API is generally, their equipment is a little bit more expensive. It's a little bit more high-end, you know, in the thousands for most of their gear, and their consoles particularly are into the hundreds of thousands if you get one with a lot of channels. So some number of years ago, they wanted to bring to market something that was both a little bit more affordable for people to kind of get into the API sound, but also some pieces of equipment that recreate kind of forgotten circuits from API's history. So back in the 80s, there was a console manufacturer called ATI, and they were really well known for their Paragon mixing consoles. They were really popular, especially in live scenarios. And there was a bus compressor that was part of the Paragon console that became really well known for having a really nice kind of smooth sound and being versatile on a lot of different sound sources. So when API brought about this new JDK brand to kind of make things that were a little bit less expensive, a little bit more accessible to the home recordist like myself, they decided to pick this bus compressor circuit from the ATI Paragon console and re-release it with some more API-ish features. So as a compressor, it doesn't have attack and release parameters. Everything is kind of auto attack and release, but that definitely does not hinder its functionality, as you will hear in just a second. We're going to pull the camera down and run some sound through it and see what all exactly it can do. But it also does have a few features that are more commonly associated with API compressors, like the thrust feature, which basically makes it so the compressor doesn't respond to low frequency information as much as it does the high frequency information. So your kick drums and stuff like that can breathe through and not cause the compressor to pump, as is the tendency of kick drums. So that's really great. It's got obviously threshold ratio, makeup gains, some pretty typical stuff. It also has a selectable knee, soft or hard knee. Now, if you guys know the knee in compression, it's kind of the behavior when the signal actually hits the threshold, whether or not it grabs really quickly, which would be a hard knee, or it kind of rolls the compression in more gently, which would be a soft knee. So even though it doesn't have those kind of normal adjustable attack and release features, everything else makes it really versatile and useful on a lot of sources. It's not necessarily my go-to for mix bus applications or for drum buses. It can definitely work in those roles depending on the source, but I more reach for it in a circumstance where maybe I have a lot of electric guitars and I've got them bussed together and I want to kind of glue them together. It's great at that kind of thing. Vocal buses, synthesizers, keys, all that kind of stuff, you know, for those more instrument bus duties, it's an excellent compressor. So let's go ahead, pull the camera down, take a look at the R22 in the rack, and run some stuff through it and see how it sounds. Okay guys, so here you can see we have our JDK R22 in all of its olive drab military glory. That's the first thing I love about this compressor, is just how amazingly old school it looks. Now, I love gear like these 1176s down here and these 2254 clones that looks like what it's supposed to sound like. And, you know, again, this isn't really a clone of any mainstream or super famous piece of gear. It is the bus compressor from the Paragon console, but they designed it with its own look. You know, it looks totally unique. There's no vintage piece or something that looks like this. It's an original design, but I absolutely love it. I think it looks really cool. It really stands out in the rack as, you know, something heavy duty and kind of bomb proof. So that's our first plus of this unit. But let's go ahead and run some drums through it and see what it does. So we have this drum track here. This is plain. This is no compression. Now we have the unit in line. You can see from our output here, we've got signal running through it. So let's go ahead. Let's grab a ratio of, let's say, 4:1. So there you can hear it kicking in. Pull it back to 2:1. Feels a little bit more natural. All the way out to 10:1 if you really want to crush some stuff. And this is all with the soft knee. So, switching it over to hard knee, you can hear it definitely has a firmer, you know, it grabs a lot firmer. Soft knee. Hard knee. Helps to really bring out the hi-hats in this case. So now, this thrust circuit removes the kick drum from the equation because when thrust is engaged, it doesn't respond as heavily to low frequency information, but it instead compresses harder up top. The flat, however, it is compressing when the kick drum hits, so you can hear it pump a little bit when that kick drum happens. Right? Now again, this unit isn't my go-to on drums, but in this case, like on this drum kit, it actually sounds really quite nice. With that hard knee mode on it, sounds nice and thick and aggressive. So that's drums. Let's go ahead and listen to this guitar bus, though, because this is where I feel like this compressor really shines, is in a kind of guitar scenario. So let's first listen to our guitar bus dry. Okay, this is an acoustic, an electric, and then a second electric comes in halfway through. So this is all the guitars in this particular song. So you can hear we've got that nice wide electric part, acoustic down the middle. And then, like I said in a moment, a second electric, a higher part will come in. But let's go ahead and kick in the compressor. And even just right there, without really tweaking much of anything, you can hear it immediately just glues those guitars together really nicely. Even all the way up to like a 10:1 ratio. That starts to get a little bit pumpy, but anywhere in that 2:3:1, 4:1 realm. Try soft knee. So the soft knee actually brings the acoustic out a little bit more. That's interesting. Thrust doesn't really do a whole lot here because there's not a ton of low-end information. Compressor out. Oh, do that over here. Compressor out. And then compressor back in. It just does a fabulous job of gluing everything together. Okay guys, there you go. There's the JDK Audio R22 stereo compressor. Now again, as you guys heard, this thing works wonders on certain sound sources, in particular big heavy distorted guitar buses and kind of anything like that. You know, if you've got organ or keyboards of any kind, synthesizer buses, even like background vocals, stuff like that, it really excels at. The attack and release feel of the compressor just work really, really well with those sources. You can definitely use it on drums if you find the right kind of drum source or the right drum sound, and it fits for that. It can do great things there, and it can do great things on the mix bus. It's just a little bit less adjustable in those scenarios because it doesn't have those attack and release features. So it's not my first call for mix bus duties, but I do use it constantly. I absolutely love this thing, and it's just great that you can get a little bit of that API vibe, that kind of aggressive mid-forward, real clear, punchy sound out of a piece of equipment, and not have to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to do it. So I'm definitely a big fan of it in that regard. But what do you guys think of JDK? Have you used other JDK products? They do have a couple of EQs and compressor or preamps. They do have some 500 series lunchbox stuff as well, and it's slowly gaining popularity in the market for kind of carving out its own niche in terms of gear. So if you guys have used other JDK products, if you own other JDK products, if you own this compressor, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below the video. Again, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next video.